The former First Minister fired the starting gun on the SNP's campaign for a second referendum on St Andrew's Day 2020, using the Scottish Government's pandemic response as the key argument for breaking up the UK. Nicola Sturgeon was forced to admit that restarting work on Scottish independence at the height of the COVID pandemic would have been a betrayal of the Scottish people. Giving evidence at the UK COVID inquiry in Edinburgh on Wednesday, she was confronted by the infamous Cabinet Minute from June 30, 2020, when ministers agreed that consideration should be given to restarting work on independence and the referendum. However, she insisted the key word was consideration and that work did not start on breaking up the UK. In saying that didn't happen, we didn't restart work, Ms Sturgeon said, adding, I would have said to Cabinet let's not do that because it's not the right time. Lead counsel to the inquiry, Jamie Dawson KC, put it to her that if it were to be decided that there had been politicisation of the pandemic and that you used the pandemic for pursuing your goal of Scottish independence, that would be a considerable betrayal of the Scottish people. After some prevarication, Ms Sturgeon replied, if I had at any point decided to politicise a global pandemic that was robbing people of their lives and livelihoods and educational opportunities and had decided in the face of that to prioritise campaigning for independence, then yes, it absolutely would have been a betrayal as you've described. In fact, Ms Sturgeon's speech to the SNP conference on November 30, 2020, when the UK and the world was still in the grip of COVID-19 and England had just endured a second national lockdown, restarted the campaign for independence and used the pandemic as an argument for breaking up the UK. She told delegates at the virtual gathering on St Andrew's Day, you know, one of the arguments often used against independence is that in tough times we need the broad shoulders of the UK. Well, right now, we are living through the toughest of times. The Scottish Government hasn't got everything right, far from it. But I doubt there are many people in Scotland who would have wanted Westminster to be more in charge of our pandemic response. In the depth of crisis, we have looked to and trusted our own government and Parliament to steer us through. We should do the same now as we look to rebuild. Our opponents will argue independence is a distraction from that. They could not be more. She did say that when the pandemic hit, we put campaigning for independence on hold, but concluded her speech by launching the campaign for the 2021 Holyrood elections with Scexit at the heart of the SNP's campaign. Ms Sturgeon said, and in that election, I will seek your authority, no one else's, for a legal independence referendum to be held in the early part of the new. This was 9 days before the first coronavirus vaccine was administered to 90-year-old Margaret Keenan received a Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine at University Hospital in Coventry. During her daily briefing on November 29, 2020, Ms Sturgeon declared it would premature for any country to be declaring victory over coronavirus. It came as the Scottish fatality rate per head outstripped England for the first time.